Okay, perfect.
That's the chair. Like everything you were.
So,
Or the dog was a.
okay, perfect. I'll call this meeting into order at 5:31 p.m. I recognize that Fiona, Mon, Imani, Usman, Devin, me, Aya, Kira, and Amina, as well as our assistant members, is all present. So we're looking at the agenda right now. Are there any motions to approve the agenda as it stands?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Any seconds? Any objections? Hearing no objections, you approve the agenda for today. Just a reminder, everyone please speak up a little bit because, Amina is online today, so it'd be really useful if she can hear everything clearly. Okay, moving on to meeting minutes. I'm just gonna go through these meeting minutes. Okay, are there any motions on the floor?
Do you think that add my name in the roll call?
Uh, beginning and?
Yeah.
Yes, we're
Okay,
here.
perfect.
Oh, I was 2 minutes late.
Are there any motions to amend the meeting minutes?
I motion to amend the meeting minutes.
Second? Any objections? Any objections? I'm just gonna. Now, are there any motions to amend the meeting minutes, as it has been amended?
Motion.
You moved it. There what?
I think you said amended twice. You said amended to amend.
Oh, are there any motions to approve the agenda? No, the meeting minutes as it's been amended. Sorry?
You said the meeting minutes.
I move to approve the meeting minutes
As amended.
as amended.
Second? Okay, everyone louder again. Perfect, okay. Oh, wait, it says meeting agenda. Okay, Well-
Did you go through the meeting minutes already or not?
No.
No.
no, it says it
So
was
we have to
amend,
Amend.
amend them again.
amend again. Okay,
Okay.
are there any motions to amend the meeting minutes?
I
It's like meeting minutes.
I motion to amend the meeting minutes.
Move.
I motion to amend the meeting minutes.
You, any seconds?
That's right.
Any objections? Any objections? You can finally vote on the meeting minutes. Now, are there any motions to approve the meeting minutes as it's been amended?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes as it.
Perfect. Seconds? Objections? You're saying no.
Shruti? I'm sorry, I've been
No
messaging.
objections. Okay, wait, give me 1 second.
Hello?
I think you're.
I'm gonna so.
Wait, can you guys hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I don't think this matters anymore, but Usman wasn't here for the roll call, and that's why he wasn't added to the roll call. I just forgot to add him to the ending one. So I don't think he should have been added to the first one, but I don't think it's that serious. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think it's fine. You can hear us correctly, right? Or like, wow.
Yes. Right now we can. Or I can. at least.
Can anyone online hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't hear them.
Ominous.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So yeah, we can hear you guys.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I've been talking every time you guys have asked.
Oh, oops. Okay. Um, moving on to our first, there's an echo.
I'm saying.
I'm logged into mute.
I'm logged into the meeting. But
You have to mute yours.
it's already muted for my laptop and I'm muted.
Maybe on that.
It's on.
Yeah.
But if you mute that, then how are they getting here?
Yeah. It's like the speaker that says it isn't one. Yeah. Hello.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us now?
Oh, we can hear you.
Do you hear an echo?
Or just say testing.
I don't hear an echo.
There's no echo.
There's an echo?
Yeah, we're able to hear you.
Okay.
Everyone please speak up.
Okay.
I'm not trying.
Okay. Moving to our first request on the table, we have Chinese Student Association semester budget request. We have two representatives from CSA right here. So if you guys could just like real quick introduce yourselves, your name, pronouns, as well as what this request is for, that'd be great.
Hey guys, my name is Drew. He, him pronouns, senior chemistry major, and I'm the current president of Chinese Student Association. So this budget request is for our biggest event after spring semester, the Lunar New Year celebration.
Hi, my name is Emily Furby. I'm a sophomore economics major. I'm currently CSA's media chair, and just as Drew said, the budget request is for the Lunar New Year cultural show.
Great, thank you. Are there any motions to move into a period of discussion for 5 minutes?
I motioned to one regular discussion.
Yes, okay.
Any objections? Hearing seeing no objections, we've entered a period of discussion. So for a little bit of context, we're just gonna have a discussion about the application that we've all reviewed. And if you guys have anything to add or to respond to any of the comments, you can just like raise your hand or say me or something. I can call on you just to maintain some form of order. That's perfect. Okay, go ahead, Mom.
I just like the Candace question. How does it work when it's between two rooms? Because they want to start off in one room and then on the stage skylight for the food.
What's the first room?
The first room is in the.
It's fine arts.
Yeah.
if I don't know, for sure.
And then when they want to move for the final ball to Skyline for the food, but they have two different restrictions for people.
Yeah, it would be the smaller
Or
one, so 70.
70 people. So could we only approve them for 70 people? And that'd be how we do the whole budget.
That's up, yeah, for the food, yeah, because especially for the food. The fine arts, like ECS fees, those are what they're. I mean, if you're having something in fine arts, there are 15 people in there, you have 150 people in there. Like, it's about the scope of the setup for, so that's not gonna change.
Right.
But for things like, food,
What's the request number again? 60.
Um, for things like food or drinks, that, those would need to be looked at from the perspective of staff.
Okay.
Anyone else?
So I see that they allocated 2,500 for food and drink. Would that have to go down to 1050? And can you both elaborate more on the contracts? I see here that it's for 1,000.
So originally, we needed the contract for a lion dance that we usually bring in. However, we have like decided to just like leave it out just to like kind of like save some like some on like the funding part. Because like I think like this year we want to focus more on like organizations that are like within campus. So like in terms of the contract, I don't think we need much of a contract for like the orgs on campus that is. The $1,000 was to like originally cover for the lion dance.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to add that also part of it is because of the room planning, holding the cultural aspect in. We are opting for requesting a larger room for that, just because of the anticipated number of people for that portion. And because of how the line dance is traditionally done, it wouldn't really work in the fine arts room, just because of the layout of the room. So we decided that since it was already kind of logistically not working out, planning for that, that financially it was kind of just a win on that to remove it as well. But we had already submitted the budget application at that time.
Yeah.
For the money that you guys are requesting, like, and it's got it.
For decorations, I'm thinking like for decorations, I think we're still like deciding, but like at the moment, it will mostly be for skylight, because like that is where we plan on having like no like having decorations, other people will like take pictures. So most likely it will be like towards the skylight. That is like still like to be like determined, like where like we're putting like decorations.
Yeah, because just to add, it would really be split between both locations, which is partially why the volume is what it is. We do anticipate for some things being able to like take them down and move them to skylights, as we are planning to do a location swap. We don't have like this exact plan of like exactly where everything will be going, but based on like specs and just doing like general sizing, from looking at like what vendors are planning on purchasing decorations from, that's where the all the numbers can come from with this.
I just have a real quick question here. So looking at the spreadsheet that we have for on-campus surplus, I believe Tori put the amount of, for food being 2250, so if there's service payments silent, that would be 1,000,
Yes.
right? Okay.
So. Yeah, I just. I'm Candace, I'm the advisor. Your name is?
True.
Drew.
Emily.
Emily. Drew. Emily. Thank you. So for clarification, the finance board uses, so it has some guidelines around how much food they can, give per person. So given that you will be serving food in Skylight, and that space is capped at 70 people right now, COVID, they would use that number, 70, and then they have a per head that they apply, cost per head, which right now is the Maryland State per diem for lunch, which is $15. That goes up every year because the state per diem goes up every year, so they try to account for like inflation and all that stuff. So if you can feed 70, we can fit 70 people in there at $15 a head. That's where they're getting the, what is the number? $1,050. So, that is, the number just named versus you're asking for $2,500 based on their budgetary statutes, they would not be able to fund at that amount. It could fund that, it's $4,000. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have another clarification, Candace.
Yeah.
Isn't the maximum common vision package that exists $250?
Sure, but that would be a question for the board as to why you're asking for $700.
Yeah, okay, so going off of that, my question is, in your request, you, asked for $750 for common vision. And from my knowledge, I believe the biggest package that they have for student rates is $250, so my question was like, where is that money going? To clarify on that.
So what we wanted, was a banner, so like, what like, huge banners, a video, quarter card, as well as like flyers that we can like pass around, like, probably during the involvement fest of like next semester, hopefully. Given that like, our event is gonna be like near end of February.
Does all of that add up to 750, everything you just mentioned, for combination?
Nothing. Believe we calculated it out like before, or at least like my vice president like calculated it out like before. I'm not sure like how like much it entirely like turned up into, but I believe it was like it should be like the highest package that the common visions like offers should be.
And question for should be kind of, have we ever funded 750 for combination before? Like that large?
Not since I've been here,
Okay.
so not in 3 years. I mean, there is, so for clarification, there's a marketing package that has a banner, 20 by 30, poster, 9 that features the video, and then 500 quarter cards. They are saying they would want also some flyers.
Mhm.
So that's, the discretion of the. Someone wants. Here, number 2.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. I think for us, we were not, the person who calculated some of these numbers is not present for the last conflict, but, I believe that what we had in mind was kind of a number estimate due to, previous years and comparing, just like what our budgeting was, but I think we were not entirely sure what the offered packages were. So that's not, it's not necessarily like that's what we need, it was
Okay.
meant to be kind of an estimate, I think.
Oh, makes sense.
Okay. Okay, this is for the org. Can you talk a little bit more about the catering that you were gonna offer?
So since it is like a Lunar New Year like celebration, we did like want to aim for like kind of like catering more like culturally like appropriated, like a culturally appropriate like Chinese like cuisines from like local restaurants, that tends to be like from previous experience, that tends to be like what like a lot of our members like look forward to for like in terms of like the food.
This is for Candace. What are the guidelines on catering?
Yeah, so, food there's a food waiver for the catering contract for food that is, culturally accurate and culturally representative. So they don't have to go through an approved caterer if they're trying to get, culturally accurate food.
So Candace, I'm sorry, go ahead. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the total amount that we can fund is $2,310.
I would say you could use the higher number of attendees, the 150,
Okay,
because the event is taking place there. But you could apply the lower number of 70 to.
okay, got it. Again, for context, what we're just discussing is there's a total, like, there's an amount that financing funds for each person. And that's a total of $33 per person. So when you're looking at your request, I believe you requested a total of 8,000 some number dollars, some amount. But we can fund $33 per person, so that's 150 times 33, which is $4,950. So we're just kind of looking at how we break that up based on every year. Asking for, and then that's like some of the decisions of like exactly where you want the money to go. It's also kind of like something that is put into question. Also, we're surely we're on 5 minutes, so are there any motions to extend the greater discussion?
I'm looking at into the 5 minutes.
Second,
Any objections? If you're seeing no objections, we would extend the time for another 5 minutes. Okay. Candace, do you have anything to add?
Yes. So I'm very excited for your event. I think it's going to be wonderful. And I did have, let's see here, question about your other items in the budget. So there is a request for $1,500 for other items. And do you have an idea of what that is?
Yes, do it.
Okay.
So some of the other items are really part of our cultural showcase idea. One of the things we're looking into is, especially because this is something that's a yearly event that's happened frequently, and when examining previous year costs, we realized there was kind of a lot of money put into items that probably could have been reused, but the decision was to do like a rental or a temporary thing. So we were planning on putting more funding for this year in order to kind of reuse some of the important cultural items because of the showcase.
Sure.
So that would include things like hampu, which is attire. I think in previous years that has been rented. But we're interested in because we also added a dance company to our association this year, and because that is something we're planning on keeping around, looking into getting the attire that could be reused and reworn. I think that was the biggest thing that went into other items, was just like kind of trying to keep this, how to phrase some of the items. Really just culturally inclined things for performance, essentially.
Yeah. So I would say that the reasoning probably behind the rentals in previous years is that finance work typically doesn't fund things that can be reused, like costumes and sets and things like that. Because while the money is given to the student board, it is still technically SGA money, and because it's like things like costumes or supplies or equipment, really. And SGA would then be tasked with keeping track of that stuff. And so that, if you can imagine, 200 orgs get a bunch of equipment, and then SGA being tasked with tracking all of that is a monumental task. And so they have said, no, we're not going to buy equipment. Please rent it. And so I would say to the board that to encourage you all to rent the items. That $1,500 um, considered as medical people. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and looking at like the total amount right now, I just wrote it all out for Mario, my clarification, but if you were to put the $3 deposit onto the other categories towards rentals, it would still work out to be under the total that we want. So if that is something you're interested in, then that's something you'll kind of do to make it easier for you to not have to change the line item in the future and reallocate stuff. But finance for everyone else.
So, going on with the 150 people they're starting off with, do they have to make any cuts anywhere for their budget?
So, I don't know where I was with, but I just kind of made like a tally of my own, of all the money, but if like someone could like look at it while I read it out loud, and probably have missing, you can like maybe Candace or if possible, but I have 1050 for food.
Yeah.
300, or I put 300, but I should do that 250 for common vision. I just put 300 as a ballpark estimate.
Yeah.
And then all the ECS fees is like 463, 50, 432, and 50.
I have 440, 463, 432. I saw 440 flag behind it for audio visual.
Okay. So then it would be, yeah, so it's 440, 463, and 432 for ticket. That's up.
Yeah.
50 for room, 600 for decor, 250 for dining ware, 250 for supplies, and then 1,500 for rentals or other whatever.
Yeah, I got 49 and you say.
My number's about now. I just sent you the list I made.
Yeah. There's 250 for supplies. Yeah. 53, 35, 50.
Yeah, wait, I must have done that. So yeah, I got that too.
Okay.
So, okay, so right now for, sorry?
We're a little over.
Yeah, okay. Again, I don't know if it's gonna help, but I can like show you real quick. But, I just kind of broke down how much there is, if you want to take a picture of it or something, just for like context. But, I broke it all up into like, how much, each like line item is. And, right now it comes out to a total of 35, or sorry, 53, 35, 50. And I can also put this in the finance workshop if it helps for you guys. So the idea is the total should be 49.50. So you have to find a way to take out $385.50. So I guess the question comes up to where would you like that much money taken off of? It could possibly be the rentals or I also believe you guys have had a breakdown of how much decorations the venue should cost. So if you want to like go with the exact amount like that, then you can also do that.
I think potentially we would look at splitting that cost between a couple of areas. For now, I think leaning towards dining ware because we were originally thinking the higher amount, and since food is now under 70, so if you got
Think, dining room. I say, yeah, definitely have that.
have to have dining room. And then I think maybe the dining room at 250. But yeah, so we're
So
at
it's
50.
125.
25.
The 268 and 50 cents left.
I think I would take, the 160 and 50 cents out of decor and then take, the other 100 out of rentals. Yeah, I don't, yeah, I would, even if we're doing rentals, I anticipate that's, going to higher cost because it's still specialty items.
Yeah.
So you said take $100 off of rentals?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm gonna send the updated thing finance form. Then
Decor. $160.50.
here, you guys wanna take a picture of this for $39.50?
Thank you.
Um, we're good?
Yeah, so the numbers that I have, that would be, within your budgetary guidelines that you could consider funding. So ECS fees, $1385.50. Decor at $439.50. Food at $1,050. Dining wear at $125. Common vision, $300. Rentals at $1,400. Supplies at $250. To bring $4,900.
Yep, sounds good. That's the money, the big one. Okay, perfect. Looking at that, are there any points anyone wants to make, or are there any motions on?
I'm gonna mention your ability. Okay. 10 seconds.
3 seconds.
Thanks, Jackie.
Any objections? There is some objections, we moved into the voting. Okay, so if you think that this should be funded as the entirety of the amount that they're asking for, then say yes in the chat for everyone online, for all the finance members online, and then for everyone here, raise your hand. Okay, 7, right? Yeah, perfect, okay. That's 7 for, 0 opposed, 1 abstaining, 1 present. Perfect. Thank you guys so much for coming in.
All right, thank you guys so much.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, people. Welcome.
Let's.
Thank you. We're okay. Moving on to our next request. We have African County Council. It's 7:08 for anyone looking on Survey Monkey. But I believe we might have a representative on WebEx. So if you guys could introduce yourself real quick. And so the name pronouns as well as like what the event for African County Council is about.
Hi, my name is Abby. I'm the treasurer. I use she, her, hers pronoun, and the event is the exhibition of Africana Studies Department.
Okay. Finance members, are there any motions on the floor?
I motion and move into discussion.
A second.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, we enter the period of discussion. Yes.
So the only question that I have was that the event seems like a recruiting event. It doesn't seem like like a show or anything. So that was my only concern. So I was like, I don't think we could find something of a recruiting event. So
Yes, Candace?
I mean, this is the, Africana Council, which is separate from the Africana Studies Department. So. And while it says membership in Africana Council is open to Africana Studies minors and majors and minors, anybody can join, regardless of major. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a recruitment event for the org. I think it's more a partnership between the org and the department to share information. And it looks like they are partnering with the Model African Union. Is that a straight on?
It does think so.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider this a recruitment event for the board. This is my two cents.
I said she agrees, yes. Yes.
Oh, I did want to note that, it says the estimated undergraduate attendance is 30 people. And so at $15 a head for food, that would put the food limit at $450. And the event limit, at
Like
$3 less than 800, 750.
700. And right now. They are, oh, no, they're over that, right?
They're 800. Yeah, okay. So we're, just one second, sorry.
Oh, well, yeah, but the event limit, they are under the event. The event limit would be $990, it's $33 a head.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah.
So the event limit, they're under the total amount for the event, but they are over, but the application is over the food.
Also, Abby, just for context, we have to consider, for every UMBC student, we have a fee, or we have an amount that we can fund for food, which is specifically $15, which is mandated by the state. So we're just kind of calculating 30 times 15, which is like the number of UMBC students attending, times the amount that we can fund per person. And that's kind of how we're getting the 450 number. And we would just have to decrease the amount that we can fund for food and drinks to be $450 rather than 500.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Money.
I don't know, Sarah Kane said that their total limit is $190. So I was thinking that they're fine rather than the food cost being, the food limit being over.
Yeah.
Everything else looks pretty good.
I pretty much agree too. Like, other than the food amounts, I don't think there are any other issues with this application. Does anyone have anything else to add, or are there any motions on the floor potentially?
I won't get to voting, but what is the total amount that will be voting for? So
750.
750, okay. Perfect. I move to enter into agreement voting on this request. Thank you.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, we move to the period of voting for this application. Okay, wait. Can someone amend the legislation real quick? I accidentally know that.
I must go. I'm going to go legislation.
Okay, if you think that this request should be approved as is and funded for $750, say me in the chat, for all the finance board members, or yes in the chat, and, or I, sorry. I in the chat, and then for people here, raise your hands. The other like goes, I'm just gonna,
So majority.
yeah, so majority. Then 6 for to oppose, abstaining to not present. Good. Congratulations, Abby. Your event has been funded. You will receive communication, hopefully in the next few weeks for sure. But congratulations. Thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving to our next item on the agenda. We have Black Student Union's application. I believe we have people on the WebEx call from ESU, so if you guys could just real quick introduce yourselves, as well as so name, pronouns, as well as like major, and why you're asking for funding, and just a little bit about your event.
What's the application number?
Actually,
708.
how about you?
That's after town council, we just did that one.
Oh, oops.
Yes, you know,
I think it's 723.
Yes.
yeah, and they did not confirm.
No, I actually saw the person that I know for ESU in the call.
Oh, really? Oh,
But I think they might have left.
Mm.
Okay, fine.
okay.
If there isn't anyone, then we can discuss this, but are there any motions to move to the discussion for 5 minutes?
I'm not sure to be on the discussion.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, we move into a period of discussion. Is there anyone that has? Go ahead.
Are you,
They're welcome to come, but we're not at them yet.
We're not on this thing, but if you want to say, for
if you would like. Sure. If you will call you.
So this event is a potluck. That is a no-go for COVID. Food that is served at events has to be made in a commercial kitchen and then served by food service people, or be pizza and served by a person. So that's a thing.
Okay, so, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, since we can't fund it, well, we're not saying we can't fund it, but it's trying to look at it, we can't fund it. Is it possible, since they already put the money under food and drink, if they use it to pay for food that they would have cooked at the potluck or going to the potluck?
Can I add something real quick?
Mhm.
They said that they mentioned that their food service providers Chartwell's. So I don't know if it's like an actual potluck or if it's just like a title that they're using. Because they put Chartwell's in as their food service provider.
What's the number?
723.
2030.
Someone's raising your hand, yeah, go on.
Oh, well,
The quad is the grass between the pool and the common.
Oh.
Is
The what?
there's grass between where the big outdoor pool is and then and then there's grass, and then there's the terrace steps.
But that's what it's called?
That quad, right. It's connecting academic road to the common.
Oh, what's the?
Um, no. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, wait, we have a representative. Hi, can you please introduce yourself, a representative from BSU, just like your name, major, pronouns, as well as like your events, and then, if you have any questions about it, we can also ask you about that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aju. I'm the president of BSU. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a junior biology major. Is that everything?
Just a little bit about your event.
Um, so for this event, we're on the potluck, correct?
Yep.
So last year during quarantine, we had a what was it? We had a meeting with BSA, and after that meeting, it was a very good meeting. So we talked about having later events going on. So we decided that we wanted to do a potluck with them. So because we understand that due to COVID, we can't actually make the food. We're gonna have it catered by Cartwheels. It was just gonna be like it wasn't gonna be anything big, obviously, because the 50 person limit. But it was going to be that with that limit, we would have a short. I need to check how much the time it was. I don't believe it was longer than 2-3 hours allotted to it, but it was more than 2 or 3 hours allotted to it. But it was just going to be a quick potluck, just a get together. Anybody that wanted to come by could come by and stop by.
Okay, so with that in mind, so now that we know that it's a catered event, that sort of changes the, first of all, thank you for the clarification. But that like kind of changes the idea of how we fund it. So are there any people who wanna, do a conversation with finance board? Yeah,
Okay, can you hear me, Aju? Hello?
I think, yeah.
You can? Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
him.
Okay,
Good.
cool.
So, thank you so much for that clarification. My only hesitation or just like, inquiry is that, so will it still be a potluck technically, since you're having the food catered? And it's just, like what kind of foods, like, are you planning on catering?
Yeah, I see how that can be kind of confusing. So it wouldn't necessarily be a potluck because to UMBC standards, we can't actually we can't actually make the food and serve it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the name, it says potluck, but in theory, it's not really a potluck.
Thank you.
Okay, so my second concern regarding this would be, ECS documentation. Candace, was there anything ever added?
I don't see any documentation for this.
Okay, can you give documentation?
Yes, you can reserve the quad.
Okay.
That'll be a question to them.
I have a question for you. So we require, that all boards who request, funding have documentation for the place that they're going to host the event in. So you mentioned in the application that you wanted to hold it in a quad. So, do you have any ECF documentation from, that shows that you reserved the quad for the day that the event is planned?
So when we were reserving and not reserving, when we were making these events, it was to our knowledge that we did this extremely late. So we essentially were booking in terms of we were booking. We kind of did it backwards in the sense of because how late we noticed that we started doing the applications, so there wasn't any time. So we wanted to go back and talk to the what is it? Because it was a whole mix up that we had with our finance board, and not with our finance board, with our treasurer. So in reality, our treasurer was supposed to have handled a lot of this stuff, but we had our kind of like a turnover in staff. So I had to do all the bookings last minute. So we didn't officially meet with anyone. Like I had to do all this stuff like last second because we needed a new person. So we wanted to go back and handle all the funding and stuff later. And I've gotten emails about that, and I wanted to be able to speak to those people about the funding, but we just haven't done that yet. And about the booking and stuff like that.
So unfortunately, we can't approve or fund requests that don't have anywhere that is assigned. And even if you go about even if you go about getting documentation right now, I don't believe that like the person who is heading ECS or like helping with the documentation would be able to help you because our deadline is like the application deadline was literally a month ago. So at this point, I don't think it would work. So I personally don't think that we can fund this event.
Okay.
We're still going to vote that.
Yeah.
I'm
If that is the case, then I will say to just save time that has been. That is the case for all the other events too. So if that is then I don't want to say that there's no point in going through the rest of the events, but it's just going to come down to the same issue at the end of the day.
Right, and I appreciate that the straightforwardness of that because or like I guess I appreciate telling you that ahead of time. But yeah, unfortunately we just don't really fund anything. But like in the future, there are like appointments that we can make before budget deadline, so that's something you should look into. I know you have like issues with the treasurer, but like that's something that you guys can look into for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so looking for legislation, Candace, is there anything else to add? What was the amount? Oh, sorry, yeah.
So, that's quite, this for clarification. So if they had a room booked already with ECS and then say like someone should perform, they wanted to move it, could we had funded?
If there was a room booked,
It was there already a room booked already, like a location booked, it's the fact that they don't have anything booked at all is the reason we can't fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Are there any motions to clear the voting?
I moved to approve the voting.
A second.
Any objections? Hearing seeing no objections? Okay, hearing seeing no objections, we move into clear the voting. So for all the people online, say aye in the chat if you want to approve or fund this event, nay in the chat if you don't. For people here, raise your hand if you want to approve the event, if not, don't. Or funding for the event. So I'm assuming this is all like intentional, not reviewing it. I think I got disconnected. Yeah, I think she got disconnected. So I'm gonna say, fix up pose, please accept.
It's a cool question, but finish up.
Okay.
In the spring, can orgs like submit some house applications for events, right? In the spring? Or no, like blocks of it, but it has to be like under certain circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they do end up finding a space in the spring, can they file us a house From the eShop easy rent or not at
It's
all?
all urban, the third categories that allow funding, so like the competitions and stuff, if you haven't qualified yet, like that stuff.
Makes sense. Thank you.
But, Audrey, thank you for coming in. Wait. I don't know what. Oh, it was about funding for Sahas for spring.
Yeah, can you repeat that? I just wanted to hear what like the response was.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, the response was nonverbal, sorry. The response was that Sahat's requests need to meet the predefined conditions for Sahas that are traditionally there.
Oh,
This fall was an anomaly, can't say that word, an anomaly, because student orgs could just ask for in-person events.
Mhm.
Next spring, the conditions are that they could not have foreseen the event happening. And that is why they're asking for it through Sahas and did not ask for it through the semester. So it has to be an unforeseeable sort of event.
okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to our next org on our agenda, we have NISB. I believe we have a representative from NISB, so, if you could go ahead and real quick, introduce your, event. I believe it is, give me 1 second. I believe it is for the NISB annual pageant.
And we should have a representative present.
Yes, I believe it.
Hi everyone,
Hi.
how you doing? Okay, my name is Yetunde Kabumi and I am a senior math major and I'm the treasurer of NESB. So NESB is asking for funds for the annual pageant, and this is just traditionally a pageant that happens like every year for NESB, and not just like the UMBC chapter, but all the chapters around the our specific region, and it's just again. It's basically kind of like a competition of not only talents, but like also like professional, I guess like other professional aspects of a person. And they're basically like I won't say battling, but it's basically a competition between them and like other students in SB. Um, and it's not like the competition is not close to just UMBC, the UMBC NSB chapter, and just to see who's gonna win, the title of Mr. and Mrs. Nesby. And usually it occurs during the fall, but because of COVID and all that's been happening this past few months, we decided to push it to the spring this specific year, which is what we're asking for funding for.
Perfect. We're moving on to NISB, and our representative from NISB just spoke about the events of their pageant, their annual pageant for NISB. Okay, for finance people, are there any motions on the floor?
Move to enter a period of discussion in 5 minutes.
That's it.
Any objections? Hearing if no objections, you enter a period of discussion for 5 minutes. But
So I guess like one of the things that kind of stuck out to me that might be an issue is the ratio of people that will be attending the event. I believe, let me check again. It was 150 non UBC undergrad students to 50. That's a little bit. That's definitely higher than we would consider, and I think we would have to only partially fund the event just because we can. How much can we fund?
so technically we can fund 50 times 33, which is like the total amount we can have for each person. So all the calculations will be based off of the 15 UBC students that are attending, rather than all the other people. So for context, we're basically just talking about how we can technically only fund UBC students who are attending. So when it comes to food or when it comes to like Any other expenses, we can only consider the 50 people. So there's a $33 fee, or there's $33 amount that we can fund. So it would just be 50 times 33, and that would be the total amount that we fund.
And also like 33 is per person attending, right?
Correct, exactly.
Students. So that's like 50 times 33.
Thanks for that clarification.
Okay, so just to confirm, I guess when we were filling out the budget, we were also using, I guess, prior documentation with what was with what usually goes on, like, I guess, in a non-COVID year. Since the board currently is full of just new members. So and we also met with ECS, and DCS did not get back to us in time for us to like confirm all the amounts on the list I submitted for our budget, which is why we submit like the ECS form were sent after. So the numbers on the original budget are things that we were using based on like prior years and what has been done previously. But I guess like we understand that the finance board can only finance 50 UMBC members. So we are gonna keep to the limit of fine arts. And also what usually happens is that non-UMBC members have to pay a fee to come in, and it's usually free for UMBC members. So the money received by the finance board should not be used for non-UMBC members.
Exactly.
And what did you say?
Oh, you just said exactly. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. And I guess like
Sorry, go ahead.
answering the question in the chat about can only NESB members enter? No, not only NESB members can enter, it's open to like everyone, but UMBC students enter for free, and non-UMBC students have to pay a fee.
So for my understanding, so what we're talking about the $33 per person amount that we're allowed to fund. So if we did 50 times 33, I believe the amount should come up to $1,650. And looking at their ECS fee itself, it's $1,651. So we would technically only be able to fund $1,650, and then the rest of the amount that they have to fund would have to come from elsewhere if they want to get data. But
yeah, okay, that's all right.
okay. Candace, for clarification, so we're talking about how there's 150 non-UABC students coming and 50 UABC students coming.
Wait, excuse me. Hello?
Yeah, sorry?
My bad. It's the other way around. It's 50 non-UMBC students and 150 UMBC students. I don't know.
No, I think because you put that on the application, you have to kind of go about what is our.
I mean, well, if she's saying that she made a mistake, we can update that. That I feel like is fine. For like, that's not like a.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to make that mistake.
Okay, no, that's
Definitely met 150 UMB students and
yeah,
59 UMB
it's a
students.
mistake, then yeah, that makes sense then. So if we go with that amount, then we can fund a total of 49. Yep. Oh, it's the same amount. We got it. So we can fund a total of 49.50. Obviously, that's not how much you requested, but that's all within the amount though. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Emily, was your hand up first? Okay, no, Candace, go ahead.
So I see that you have the fine arts recital hall as your space.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know or have you had any conversations with ECS about what the COVID capacity is for that space?
I believe we did. I'm not sure if it's 1 second. I'm trying to look. Yes, so um on the event confirmation paper, we were told that the seating is a total of 384, but because of COVID, this we're going to have 272 seats at the lower level and 112 additional seats at the upper level. And this is also all on the event confirmation sheet that I also put I emailed to, I believe, Candace.
Yeah.
I think that is the maximum capacity. I don't think that is the total number.
So was it in the last, I think we just saw had like the actual limit, how many people can have in the space? Wasn't it,
150?
yeah, it was like 150.
The CSA had the 150, but so they put 150 as their head count on the event confirmation, and I'm pretty sure that was like
I think 175.
175.
I think 175 because it's saying the max capacity is 384. The default capacity is 175, but I might be wrong. Hold on, let me see if I can get. What can you want to do?
Okay. So with the idea that we can fund the amount, or so it would be 200 people total, 150 of them university students. Then, are there any thoughts? Any ideas that want to be?
I think everything looks fine, you know, but they're not to bring anything in the sense that they're under budget. I believe, me just doing a little bit of math in my head with all their fees. But, so we just need to confirm the number of people that are allowed to have in that space before we actually say like everything's fine.
Yeah.
Can we knock off the number that we just used for the other?
Hold on.
Completely besides, completely like a different point that I'm bringing up. But you guys mentioned $200 for contracts. What is that for specifically?
Yeah, so I think there was also like a mistake with that because previously the years before, they add a contract, and I guess we were waiting for ECS to confirm whether or not we need that, but ECS did not get back to us. Like they gave us an initial amount, but they didn't get back to us with the final amount until after. So we put that in, but we ended up not needing a contract. So that was just like one case.
Okay, makes sense.
So the default capacity for COVID capacity is 175.
Okay. So if the COVID capacity is 175, I guess it's a question for you, but would you stick to 150? I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter, but yeah, so I guess we're assuming that it's 175 people in total, and we're assuming there are at least 150 people who are UMBC students, which allows us to fund.
Yeah, you can fund it. I would just say for I missed the introduction. What's your name, hon? I missed your introduction. I had to leave the room.
No problem. It's Yetunde.
Yetunde. So for your information, so the max capacity for fine arts is 175. So
Okay.
150 UMBC students. I'm assuming this is going to be ticketed, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so then you would be able to have 25 tickets for non-UMBC students. And
Got it.
ECS will work that out with you, but I just wanted to put that bug in your ear.
No problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we were talking about the contract, or I was talking about the contracts, but if they no longer need it, then that is something that, because it's not in their ECS documentation, so What I would say that we could do is just take the total amount that they're asking for, which is $2,105 minus 200, so that should be some amount that I can't do in my head. 1905, oh, that's different, okay. 1905 for, their total request. So based on that and all of our other conversation, is there anything else that anyone wants to add?
A point of clarification, so can you run through the numbers for me?
Sure.
Real quick.
I'm honestly just using the doc that
Oh, okay, never mind that.
I'm just taking out the $200 from contracts because it's not listed in the ECS. That was it.
Cool.
Okay. So based off of that, are there any motions from the board?
Oh, the fear, I mean, I need to visit the fear of.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, we move to creative voting. Online people, in the chat, if you want to approve the request for $1,905, in the chat, and then for people here, raise your hand. You want to approve? And okay, perfect. That's 7 of us. 4, 0 opposed, 1 abstaining, 1 not present. Perfect. Congratulations. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us. Have a great rest of the day.
I too.
Bye.
I feel like we've become best friends with Lucy. Okay, moving on. Our next item on the agenda is Hansa. Can you check if they're both here? MSA.
Is that the accent?
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
There.
Okay, so let's see. While we're pulling everything up, can you real quick introduce yourself again? And I believe our application is, or your application is for.
Yes.
So just a little bit about you.
Okay, so basically this event is going to be taking place during the holy month of Ramadan for Muslims basically. And since a majority of our Pakistani Student Association does have a Muslim population to it, every year prior to COVID, we would always provide a meal to people as they are breaking their fast. So basically this is kind of like a come and go, get some food and head out about your day type of event. And we'll just pray together, have dinner together, and that's about it.
Are there any motions from the floor?
Move to enter into discussion.
Seconds?
That's it.
Any objections? Hearing seeing no objections, we enter into a period of discussion for 5 minutes. Okay. Anyone have anything to add? Well, I think I said
It's,
that was the same exact time, y'all coordinating.
their food amount was not included on the documentation.
Okay, so that's where I believe it's emailed. For food, you said?
Yeah, food.
The amount, I'm sure you're about, but it's $1,100.
I'm on my listening.
Are they gonna do it in a room or outside? But it said the interdisciplinary, like, the way and. I'm not sure. Whatever, inside or outside.
Yes.
I think this one was booked for Skylight.
Oh.
Okay,
okay,
yeah.
That makes sense, okay?
Right.
Let me change that in our.
So if that's the case, how many people are you expecting?
So we're expecting about 80,
At the same time.
not at the same time. It's like in total, and I don't think, because I think the room capacity is 70.
Correct.
However, given that like it's just you kind of come get food and go, or like the max people that'll be in the room, I think will probably be 50 at a time. So rounding up, because obviously if it's like something while people are fasting, I want to make sure that like everybody gets food because they will be fasting the whole day. So I just upped the estimate to 80 people, even though the room capacity is 70.
So on your space reservation, you have the head count as 50.
Okay.
Um,
I do not remember who filled out this form. I think they were all filled out by Dua, but she's been on a leave of absence because okay. Um, honestly, I don't know why it says
Okay.
50.
Well, that's what it was reviewed under,
Okay.
like, with the, my recommendation for the board would be to, go with the big.
Because I think when we last spoke to Matt about it, we went with the full room capacity still.
70.
Yeah.
Where is the amount, like the number?
So I pulled up the room reservation on 25 left.
Oh, okay. It doesn't say it anywhere here, that's all.
Yeah, but it looks, it's still tentative, but it's, head count 50 expected. It doesn't say it on there?
No.
All right, then I would then go with 70.
Okay. So, wait, okay, so the issue that we run into, I mean, it's not a big issue, sure, but, so we find that maximum with $50 per person for food. That's the Maryland State Pavilion for lunch. So if we're expecting 70 people, then the maximum we'll be able to cater, or like quantum catering is 1,050, which is 70 times 16. Yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind.
What was the catering request at?
1,100.
That's what they asked for?
And it's 1,150 with the 1,050, sorry, with the 70% head count. Okay, anyone else have anything to add?
I will put that coming for. Those are $100 decorations.
I think we
Decided yet?
requested decorations for this event. Maybe it might have just been, oh, it might have just been tablecloths and like spoon forks.
Any thoughts, anyone?
Other than that, we can.
Wait, I, what do you mean? The amount? So personally, I think it would make sense if we just looked at the total amount. So on the spreadsheet, I believe it was 1,350 minus 50 because we can only fund a maximum of 1,050 for food, so I'm guessing it'd be 1,300 that we're funding totally. Does that make sense? Okay. Candace, does that look right? Sorry.
147. Well, okay, hold on.
Because I think they didn't have the documentation before.
Yeah, so I would go off the documentation, CS numbers. So that would be $141,476.50. Which is still under the $33 per head. If you're taking into account the $50 reduction in food that.
So,
$1,476.50.
got it, that's what I got there. Okay. So yeah, for clarification, 1,476.50 just based off of the ECS calculations that we have. Okay, on that note, anyone else with finance would have anything to add?
Okay.
I mean, to enter into really.
Any objections? Any seeing no objections? Mr. Peter voting. Okay. For everyone in the room, raise your hand if you think it should be approved as it stands. Online people say aye in the chat. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations. Thank you all. Moving on for next request, just know while you're out there, you can invite. For clarification, y'all, this is the cost, so we're kind of just like shifting brains. We have to like nitpick on the exact amounts, exact quotes, exact everything. So make sure we keep that in mind when we're asking questions and looking at everything. This might be a little bit long because of the nature of the request and the dates associated with the nature of the request. But
What is the
number?
43.
well, hold on,
It's the only one in finance for review stage.
Yeah.
243?
Yeah.
Okay, so for y'all's sake, that's 45.59.
What is the event?
Main events. Only.
1 second, there's 5 of them. So how many can we have inside?
I think we have the,
You can have 11 people in the room.
Okay, so do we have enough chairs?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good.
1, 2, 3, 4,
4,
5.
5, 6, 7. You have 4 of them.
4 of them, okay.
What are the options?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get back next meeting. Very stressful, only Tori. Oh, why don't we do the Fine.
Who would make for it?
2 right there.
Hello. You guys can't find the seat, just sit down.
2 of you can sit here and 2 of you can sit over there.
Over here. I'll stand up. We have laptops in front of us.
Thank you for coming.
There's also a seat back there if you want to sit, so you can see the stuff. Hi, if you guys can like real quick, just introduce yourself, so name, pronouns, major, and then if you can just like talk a little bit about the event that you're trying to get on in.
I'll start. My name is Wafiq, and I'm the treasurer for the UMBC MSA. And we're here to talk about basically we call it our main event. It's just our biggest event at the end of every semester we have. We have few speakers and have food and everything's just like a formal dinner basically.
Yeah, I want to offer the basic thought.
My name is Mariam. I'm one of the events coordinators for the LSA. And I'm a communication studies major.
Hi, I'm Iman. I'm the other events coordinator and I'm a bio major.
Hi, my name is Rida. I am a bio major.
Perfect. Okay. Are there any motions to move to appear in the session?
I move to enter into the discussion on this request.
Second. Any objections? Moving to the objection to move into a period of discussion. Okay. Who wants to get started? Okay, for clarification, for context, not clarification. Basically what happens in like our meetings is that like finance board members, we're in a period of discussion right now. So finance board members will just like kind of have a discussion about the request of all those out beforehand. And if you have any questions, then we can address them towards you guys. And if you guys could just like raise your hand and not say me, then I can recommend you so there's just a different order in the meeting. Perfect.
So this is a Sahara's application, right?
Yep.
And given the fact that the event is on December 3rd, right?
Yeah.
So it's not 60 days in advance. I'm sure, I'm kind of sure, but can we double check if it's not, okay. So can we fund how much they're asking for in forward?
Yeah, no, so there's a clarification comes in.
Thank you.
So, we have budgetary guidelines and they require us to have people submit, or they require students submit applications a certain number of days ahead of time, so that we have the time and the ability to look at it so we can fund it properly. So, our request, guidelines are that you have to submit it 60 days ahead of time for us to look at any amount that is more than $3,000. As you guys, I believe the date that it was submitted was November 1st, and it was a bit more than, wait, the date, was it December 3rd? Yeah. It was a little bit more than 30 days, so the amount that we can look at is a total of $1,000. That's the maximum amount that we can fund for this event, and that's just something that's written in our bylaws, and that's kind of publicized and like all over our financial resources page. So that's just something to keep in mind. And that's kind of what our discussions are going to be surrounded by and like talking about basically.
Okay, can I start? So honestly, I'm sure you guys all are all aware that this semester was a little bit difficult for everybody. As one, we really couldn't submit a budget ahead of time. And when we came back on campus, like this is my first time being treasurer, so it was like a learning curve for all of us at the end of the day. So I don't think it was really possible for us to get it submitted within that 2 month like time frame. Like we were basically set up for failure, how the only way I can describe it. And on top of that, I think I did submit it before then, but there was like some issues or something, and somebody didn't quite happen right, or I didn't get all the forms. But basically, like we have had frequent meetings with Matt. So I've met with him multiple times before that 2 month time frame and within the 45-day time frame. And I just want to know if anybody else could take this up with.
Yeah, let's go.
Hi, so I'm Candace, I'm the advisor for SJ. So ECS process is separate from finance board process. And so have been meeting with ECS for a number of times and ahead of schedule. It was great. So that doesn't negate that we didn't let finance board know that we needed funding.
And also one more thing, another issue I had was, there was, at the beginning of the semester, we really could not, I couldn't even submit it because there was a restriction on us, the dietary restriction, which you guys had limited us to 5 catering options, none of which were allowed. And we're a religious organization, and people there do not eat food that is not hand cut by Muslim. So we had a huge dietary constriction, and we started working towards that to see what we could do with that, but we really just couldn't get a food vendor. We had no option.
Yeah, so that is not something that finance board controls. That's the.
And I understand. That's not really anything like either of us could control. But that restriction was only listed after the period of time, after the 2 month time frame. There's nothing we could have done.
One real quick thing, you just like raise your hand just to like maintain a little bit more order in the meeting.
I'm gonna chat.
Oh, sorry, did Amina say me? Yeah, go ahead, Amina.
Hi, I just would like to also add my own personal experience with ECS when we also like PAX is a Pakistani or like it's a, like they eat halal as well, and so when we were doing the halal option, honestly didn't take us that long. So I'm not sure like you're saying that it took you a while. Could you explain a little bit further? Like what do you mean that restriction was like lifted? If you're able to expand on that.
They didn't let us cater. We had 5 catering options until and that time there was a restriction, and it's not that we had to fight it, but Matt had to go back and double check before we got approval to go out and look for other catering options. So this was, I'm not even sure when he sent out the email, but
I think that was one of the biggest things that limited us from.
yeah, we couldn't really do anything until that restriction was lifted.
Okay, Usman, I believe you had your hand up.
Oh, yeah, so my other question was, have you guys like received any email?
About what, sorry?
I mean, like about the funding and then like what you guys should have done there. So I just sort of like get done. That way, you know.
I sent a few emails back and forth, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to check.
So,
Ruby, you said that you submitted a budget and then like it was denied.
something about COVID restrictions like before the semester started.
So what happened was, I think it was either over the summer or end of last semester. I think we have, we were supposed to submit the budget ahead of time, like the semester before, I believe. So I did submit one, but like, I'm sure you guys are aware, like, we just didn't use that because I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they said just to submit the SAHS application for any events we're gonna have.
Right, for clarification for that, we were funding, applications that were being held in person last semester.
Right.
Only because we didn't know the state of, like, COVID and
Exactly.
everything else. So that's something that we just weren't able to look at last semester, but this semester, this is my personal opinion, but I feel like we had ample, like, time to monitor since the beginning of the semester that this is a process, and since your event is later in the semester, I think that it would have potentially been possible to submit it earlier.
I totally understand what you're saying, and we were kind of thrown off by the extenuating circumstances that we were in. Could you guys offer us anything to make our situation easier? Anything that could help us? Because we were thrown off, we have our own reasons. Of course, we were following a bylaw and everything, so you have your own, but we just, anything that could make it easier on us at this point.
Okay, go ahead, Mom.
So like if they were to move the date of the event, would it be the 60-day time frame, but then would be every year?
So there aren't enough days this semester to do that. The semester ends in like literally less than a month. So even if they were to move it, it would go.
Actually, how many days are they in right now? Like, you guys submitted the request.
November 1st.
A little over a month in advance.
So what's the exact date?
November 1st.
November 1st, and it is the 16th, so 15 days altogether. And
Oh,
then-
wait, one second.
I'm sorry.
It's from the date it's submitted to the event, so it's there.
I'm trying to figure out
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the semester and seeing if you can actually extend the date to actually see if we can actually fund a bit more. But I don't know if that's allowed. I don't know if that's possible. That's the main thing.
From my knowledge, the semester is about to end on the 13th. That's the last day of the semester.
Exactly.
And even if they were to push it out, hypothetically, still would not work. As well, like, it's also like a big headache to go through ECS and get things moved to the future. So that's something else to consider. Remember that?
I mean, like since the event is only for the undergrad, so like there's like no non-young people there, is there a possibility of making an exception? I mean, we might go against what the budgetary status says, but since we've been, I mean, like this is like it is more of a religious event kind of a thing, so that was my only thought for it. That's the way you leave it.
I think I went,
Oh, okay. So, okay, so from ominous knowledge, she said that Chartwell does offer rural options. Not really sure how much he can what he can do about it at this point. But that's just something that she said that she has built into the past and that it exists. But-
Just, sorry, quick question. So is Chartwell's the UMBC?
Yes.
It's the UMBC, right? So it's like dining hall and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay, so my issue was with that, I talked to, we had a GDM meeting and I talked to people, and there's a lot of people that live away from home and they have the food here. And their biggest concern was, like, they want home food. So we wanted ethnic food, which is something I'm not sure if we could have worked out with them, which is our biggest concern.
Yeah, so it's a while to sort out the catering business and then the restriction of, like where we can cater from was. It's a cultural bit and.
Yeah, 1 second, sorry. I think ominous for me in the chat. Go ahead, Alvin.
Actually, you said it. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that the catering restriction did throw us off our timeline, and yeah, so that did add up to our delay.
Okay, so I feel like we're kind of dancing around the ultimate issue, which is I'll call on you guys in like a second. Let me just. I feel like we're dancing around the ultimate issue that regardless of whatever the circumstances were, unfortunately, like our bylaws are very clear and like we're quite literally paid to follow these bylaws, and that's what like finance members are there for. So personally, Candace, you can add to this, but personally, I believe that we should stick to our bylaws, just because I don't want to set any precedent that we would have to like not follow in the future. But I personally think that the maximum that we could should even consider funding is $1,000 based off of everything that we've gone through this semester. We've looked at multiple requests and all these requests, we follow these exact same guidelines and enforce these exact same rules upon everyone else. But that's my 2 cents, sorry. I think Devin and then Candace had their hands up. Okay, Candace?
I appreciate your directness in your commentary. I would say that you have considered applications that have fallen outside of the 30, 45, 60 deadlines. If they have been submitted within 15 days. So there is some precedent for the board voting on whether or not to consider applications that fall outside of that timeline. Maybe not this particular circumstance, but there is some precedent that already exists for
So-
considering applications outside of the 30, 45, or 60.
My only concern with that, or my only like thought process behind like keeping that is it was below, I feel like from my understanding of the rules, if it's under 30, then we can only like it's up to us, but like we can only go look up to the 30-day. And I feel like from my understanding, the bylaws are reading it, I think what it was talking about was that we can only fund a maximum of 1,000 at that point.
I just didn't want to name that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think the board is free to decide what they want to do. As to whether or not to, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just saying that I've like personally hosted like 3 main events in the past 3 years, and a restriction like the dietary restriction has never been placed. So I feel like that is an exception. So I do not feel like we were presented with fair situations. Again, I'm bringing it up again, but again, the only reason I'm raising this point is because I feel like we weren't presented with fair situations in the beginning, like in the first place. So I don't feel like we should be like held to that 60-day standard. Like, it's just not fair to me personally. I feel like but that's just my 2 cents.
Go ahead.
So my concern was, I understand that we are outside of the 60-day limit. And I wanted to know what was like you said how we could like work past that. Like, I think you said it was up to you guys to vote on it or something. If you could fund outside what was it, the 45-day limit, the 60-day limit. So what's the process to go through with that? And what's stopping you guys from making an exception for us?
Precedents. So we have considered applications that fell out of the dates that were given, but from my understanding of the only times that we did that was because we had endorsement from other people or specifically for like financial people in Barba. And I can't remember what that was, but it was under 30 days, but then we funded it up to $1,000. So it makes sense to look at a request for more than the amount. But there needs to be a limit. And that is my understanding. Candace, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you all can decide how you want to proceed, right? If someone wants to take a straw poll or a member wants to put a motion on the floor or talk about some options, we can move out of discussion into debate, which would only be for finance board members. That's your option.
I believe Aya should be in the chat first, but Aya? Oh, okay. Wait, just
Shelley, thanks for that.
Hey, actually, can I speak? Can you guys hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I just want to get a clarification on, I know I think the only precedence where we've let this happen was with Garba, but that was because they were in communication with ECS beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the full amount that they're requesting, regardless of our restrictions or whatever? And then can you tell me the full amount that we can give them if we consider that they're like under the 30-day, what are they, only at 33 days? Like, what would be the amount that we would be able to give them if we didn't do the exception and if we did?
So I highlighted it on the screen, but it's 4569 is how much they requested. And if we're gonna abide by the exact rules that we have right now, that would be $1,000 that we can fund.
Okay. Is that 4,500 amount even, like, is it even counting the amount of, like, what the people, isn't it in Skylight Room or something?
Yes.
Can't we only give 1050 for food anyways? Like, is that still like within what we would have done regardless?
That's a good question. What do you think? Yeah, it's 1,000 they asked for food.
Okay.
So it's under 1050. Okay,
Interesting.
Am I?
So I can relate, because so from what I'm gathering is they were the issue with their food restrictions and something with applications. And they weren't able to get their application on time because of some of the stuff they faced. So now they want us to look at the application as is. And and what they'll have and it completely complete and submitted on the first, even though the amount they are asking for is supposed to be submitted within 60 days.
Or before it was 60 days. Yeah.
Before 60 days.
Yeah. Basically, that's the gist of the program.
So I actually wanted to do a straw poll,
Good idea.
but Candace, please.
Yeah, I did want to bring up another point. So this event is in the Skylight Room with a maximum capacity of 70 people. At $33 a head, which is the maximum you can fund an event for at $33 a head. That's $2,310, regardless of when it was submitted. 70 people at $33 a head is $2,300. I just wanted to name that.
Yeah. Okay, just like one quick thing before I talk to you. Clarification, $32 is a matching fund for each person at an event. So 70 times 33 is the 2,000.
Yeah, she just, yeah, I think.
Okay, got it.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to bring up one point that I don't know if you guys are aware, but the MSA had a situation with with our prayer space. And then we were kind of like, we lost our old prayer space and then we had a new one. And then we were kind of fighting for space to pray and everything. So we were also thrown off by that. I'm just giving you guys more context. I'm not giving excuses. It's just like, we have been suffering since like the beginning of this semester, and everything has just been sort of a mess. And because of the prayer space chaos, we getting it started on events was another story. And then community building is extremely important for us at this point, given COVID, given the loss of our prayer space, trying to get a new one. This is the context of the situation, and I just want to make sure you guys see everything.
To add to that, to give a little more context, what we had before was the old space which was called the IC, which I believe I3D was in charge of, correct me if I'm wrong. But basically what happened over break was that was our prayer space that was pretty much open to anybody to pray in or read Quran or anything spiritual, essentially. For I'm not sure how many years it's up there. It's been there since I got here. And when we, over the break and multiple times, we were promised a prayer area and a place where we could practice our religion freely. And when we came back to campus, we were met with none of that. So we were presented with a small, congested, uncomfortable area that closed at 5 p.m., which only fell in space for one of our 5 prayers. And on top of that, we were met with racist comments. There were people part of our org that were told by the very office that we would tell for these issues about. It's the Office of Equality and Inclusion, telling people of our org racist comments. So that's the type of stuff we were dealing with early on in the semester. And our very first priority was to find a place for people to practice their religion. So that, I think, was the biggest thing that set us back, not only in filling out stuff like this, but in behind in school, at home, and it really affected us as an entire organization down to the individual level, not just the cabinet, but to everybody everybody inside the org.
Yeah, I recognize that, and I'm really sorry that any of you had to go through that, because that's surely not the spirit of our campus. And I feel like that really is bad. I'm gonna go ahead.
So like, although I understand that like we all like the thing is like I understand what you guys have been through, and like all Muslims had to face that because no Muslim had a prayer gathering. And just what to say, just to reiterate what Aya said, like yeah, you guys aren't the only Muslims that submitted applications, and also I feel like a lot of people are going through a lot of things. So I feel like if finance board has makes an exception for you guys, then that sets the precedent that anyone can come to us and be like, oh, I have this going on in my life and this going on in my life, and it's just like I just don't think it's truly fair to like everyone else, and then we would have to continuously make that exception.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just like to address what Amina is saying. This wasn't like something, this is going on in my life, like I'm just having a mental health crisis, sorry, I'm breaking down. It was an actual thing where a solid place where we went to for the last 30 years was destroyed, and we didn't have a place to pray, and we were being asked to like pray in the bathroom. That has a very deeper impact on an organization, on people who are already a minority, on people who are like scrambling for places to pray. And I don't think this should be compared to anything that's normal or that just happens. I do not think that's fair on us.
I have one more thing to add. It's not something that just happened to us. It's something that the school did to us. So the school should have to take that into consideration. Is what I'm trying to get at. It's one thing to have something going on in our personal lives. It's one thing for the school to do that to us.
I think you also need to consider the fact that the MSA, Muslim Student Board Association, is like our mission is to serve Muslim students. So while other organizations like PAXA may have Muslim members, like our mission statements are very different. So like our business, quite literally, is just about Muslim affairs. And so like a hindrance to Muslim affairs is a hindrance to the MSA. And it's not going to affect other organizations in the same way that it affects us.
Candace?
I appreciate this robust conversation. And I learned that I'm so sorry that happened. And it continues to be my fault. And I would say for the board, you have a question before me, right? Are you willing to consider this application for more than $1,000 that's currently qualified for? Yes or no? And if no, then proceed to consider it for the $1,000, $999. If the answer is no, you're only going to consider it for the amount that it qualifies for by the submission date, then you're done. If the answer is yes, we are willing to consider it for more than.
Just 1 second. Can you just speak up a little?
Oh, sure. So the question before you is, are you willing to consider it for more than what it qualifies for based on its submission date? Yes or no?
Okay, and I feel like that's something that we can raise as a struggle.
Yes, you can, well, you would have to, you could straw poll that, but you do have to vote on that. That has to be a vote.
Okay. The HERA, it was submitted on November 1st, the amount is on December 3rd. That is 33 days, something correct my math if I'm wrong. But, yeah, so it's 33 days. It's not late by any means, but it's late for the amount that they're requesting. They requested 4,500 something. They fund $2,310. $2,310, and that should have been submitted 60 days ahead of time for us to consider. 1 second, I want to get a straw poll first, just to see what's happening, because we're all students, we need to eventually get through, and first we have our advanced anymore, but that's the second point. So the straw poll that, okay, for finance for members, do we think that we can go over the $1,000 limit that is in place, that is set by our guidelines? So that'd be a yes in the chat or a no in the chat for online people, and then if people here think it should go over, finance members, then you have to raise your hand. Do you consider over $1,000? Do you all think we should consider it over $1,000? So I'm seeing 3.
I don't know who's, I have to, who's in there? Aya.
Mahira and Aya.
Okay.
And
is Nail the name there or no?
Nail the name. I'll text you later.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Aya and Mahira, basically, it's a straw poll. If y'all think we should look at a request over $1,000. So if we should even look at it, consider it, then say yes. If not, then say no. So far, 3 people in the room have said yes.
How many voting members do you have today?
There's 7.
You're on
So
4. You
4.
have majority.
Okay.
5. It says 5.
5. Okay. Cool. So that's 5 of us. So the amount that we can look at right now is $2,310. So based on that, do we need to go into a formal vote, Candace?
Yes, you should do a formal vote on that. On the considering for more than $1,000. You should do it for.
Okay. Will we move into voting procedure?
Someone, yes.
Motion to the floor?
I move to enter into voting.
I said.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, you have been prepared in voting. Again, clarification for online people, and I mean, I guess everyone, but we're just doing a more formal version of the exact same straw poll that we just did. But if we think we should basically override the bylaws that we have and find anything that's more than $1,000. Then say yes, I in the chat, raise your hand here, and if not, then no in the chat with no raising. Override bylaws and becomes a precedent for future events. Yes.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Not necessarily. Because of, extenuating circumstances. I think that is you can always, you can explain why you made a decision one time and didn't make it all the other times. Okay. Just like for Garba.
So what is our max amount now? Do we know that? Like in terms of how much we can fund? $3,000?
$2,310 based on the attendance.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so now that we've established that we can fund anything over $1,000, are there any people who want to add it?
Question. So we had allotted some money for like catering and speakers, contracts and things like that, so if this amount is approved, then the event is approved, right?
Yes. So if we decide to give the full amount of $2,300, but you can proceed with the event. If there's any parts of the event that are not being funded, then that's something that would be on the club.
Okay, that was my question.
I have one more question. So would we be allowed to combine if we have any leftover costs, would we be able to use our carryover account to cover it?
Yeah, so if you have any money in your carryover account, that's surely a method to go down. Also, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there's a fund called the SOAR Fund that was given out at the beginning of the semester. It's like $210 for every single organization. So that's just another avenue to go about getting your money for it.
So we could also combine the SOAR fund with however much you guys approve.
Yeah, I can stack it.
Yep, it's
Thank you.
$210 and like 25 cents or something like that. But yeah. Okay. Final comments, anything? SOAR expires at the end of the year. So, end of the academic year. So I think it's May 1st is the day we decided on. Huh? Yeah, of course. Sorry.
So my question is, even if we do approve their money, we don't, they're not even gonna be able to cover their basic fees.
Yeah, what do you mean?
I think I'm looking at it.
Yeah, because in the, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yep. Thank you. In the form, it includes event catering and payment contract, which is $1,000. And so that's 3,000. So really, the PCS fees are $779, which I did want to note is different than the number that they put into the application. So, but yours includes, you don't have asked. There is some discrepancy between what's typed into the application and what was quoted.
I mean, assuming these are ECS fees, that is something that we just look based on their software, right?
Yeah, I don't see anything in here for housekeeping though, which I would typically expect given there's going to be food access. Right.
You want that first, but figure this out.
I mean, I think you got to go off with what the actually says.
Right.
So the ECS fee should be $770.
And we enter the question line item, right?
Yeah. So like, we would have a discussion around contract decoration, planning board and approve. ECS fees, based on the document, are 770.
Okay, got that. Okay, for a little bit of clarification on what we were just talking about. So ECS fees, obviously you guys probably know this, but ECS fees are just like the core fees that just allow you to like have the event as style like you wanted to. So that's just $779, and that's just something that cannot be moved unless you like, don't want to hold the events. That's just like kind of something that's set in stone. But since we can allocate a total of $2,310, the idea is from the leftover $1,531, where how do you want to split that money and what like line items do you want to split that money into? So like how much we're gonna put in like catering, entertainment, and all that stuff, and that's just something that's like important for us to like allocate so you guys don't have to anyway. Yeah.
I have two things. So one, our we were able to get the entertainment contract down to 1,000. We worked now with our speakers, and I think we can. Are we allowed to go back and talk to like our who we got the catering contract with and work on the price to bring it down?
I mean, given the timing, I would say that the board should probably make a decision on your request today, because of the, coming break. What I would, if I were your advisor, what I would say is to look at what's on, you have $1,500, what do you want to do, right? Knowing that, you know, maybe you can get less, maybe you get less food. And you see if they'll throw in dining ware, or like maybe you buy the dining ware out of it with your carryover. But what the board is asking is they don't want to just arbitrarily cut your stuff. They want to know where do you want to cut it. But they want you to have the agency and some of the stuff.
I can real quick write this out if you guys want to like take a picture and like share it around. That doesn't really help for the numbers. So I'll just write it up real quick. But you guys have access to the actual application too, so if you want to look at it from there, but I'll type it out.
I got it.
So it's $1,000 in catering, and then $1,000 essentially for range. Documentation for it's not the finance board told me calculate the amount for the second set of documentation they have. It's for all the decorations. It's like it should be like under the typed out one. Yeah. I'm doing it too, but just for yeah. High school go program.
$436.80.
I just I'm almost done. 466.85, you said?
436.80.
What did I do? Anyone else?
Tablecloth for a table or tables is under $1.19 or $119.
I don't know if it was 119.
I did it for $119.
$119?
That's what I did, but then it says $6.99. So I'm not sure.
It makes sense because I have 17 for you know. So if you look at the next link, or the next page, underneath it's at 17 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now I'm getting more sleepy. We're at 466.84.
Okay, 466.84.
Yeah.
Perfect. That was your declaration.
Yes.
What else? Did I cover it? Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking a bit. Okay. I don't know who wants to take a picture, but I can just like show it to all of y'all. Just like the one right here, if you want to take a picture, just to like look at the amounts. Or if you have like a group chat, just make it figure it around. Okay, perfect. But that's the amount we're looking at right now, so my question, or our question is, where from the 4 categories in the bottom do you guys want to come from?
Can you repeat that one time, please?
Yeah, where from the screen that I just showed you, in what categories do you want to cut money from so that the total of the 4 items are $1,531. Yeah.
That's after they took out the $1,000 for the.
No, the only mandatory fee they have technically is ECS, so it's about $779. I'll send this screenshot to finance too.
Question. Could I take a look to step outside and talk to my board? Is that possible?
Sure. If you could just, it's a little late. Only, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is this recess?
It's not really a recess. Unless y'all want.
It's a Starbucks, I can go to.
No,
coffee.
no, you are not.
We're not. Also,
$7
if you're going to Starbucks, you best believe you've been crying everyone else Starbucks here.
Oh my. So far.
Didn't you just go to Starbucks today?
Stop. I was here for
We're still technically live on YouTube.
How you doing?
I mean, like, when y'all become famous, some people can sue you for it.
So this, so,
Yeah.
so for clarification, this white document that has all the links includes both their decorations and the dining room.
Oh, did it actually?
Yeah, so it says party plates, cutlery. I would, right, so I would do party plates and cutlery as dining ware.
So then all of that money is recorded.
Yeah, so like,
Oh, shoot.
I didn't do that, sorry. I can go tell them real quick if that.
yeah, so that's, I think, sort of, I would say they have $330.87 in decorations. What's the total for
466.84.
466? 84 minus 330. Like $133 in like. That they have documentation. They may be acting, the numbers that they have on the list are like a little off. So they actually have documentation for more for decorations, but less for dining.
I'm gonna show them. Okay.
We may they even had like the issue with like their food and stuff.
Well, they were startled.
This one is like. I can't relate.
What period are we on?
Discussion? We can keep on discussing whatever you want. Okay, my question with that canvas, like with the one where we like allow, or it was salsa, right, for DARPA? Wasn't it because ECS took a long time?
Yeah.
Because, like,
Well, because they're back for a while. I mean, extenuating circumstances are all different, right?
Right.
At some point, you draw a line. And so.
I guess that's like why I was like so like steadfast about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of where I like went back to the like a similar situation. Because it was a catering food rather than a
Right.
situation. So they just online it shouldn't get that.
If I were them, I would ask perfectly, but that would get into it.
Makes sense.
I want to start by saying thank you for giving us the time and working with us here.
Thank you.
So send it in the chat. So the first area that we were gonna look at cutting back on was catering. Because we did get some like extra dessert options and stuff we can cut out and bring that down to 800.
Yeah.
And then our next thing was for decor and dining ware. We have stuff from our previous main events that we're just gonna reuse. And so we could just completely get rid of decor and dining ware. And then I think that left us at like 200 and some change dollars left that we still had to cover. And I was gonna apply for I think it's the source fund for the $200. And
You don't have to apply for it. You literally already have.
we had it? Okay, perfect. So there's that, and then I want to know if we could use like I think it's a little bit less than $100. We could use our carryover to pick up that.
That works, yeah. Yes.
You can use your carryover
Mhm.
for almost anything. You don't have to ask finance for it.
Okay.
I don't know how much you have in your carryover, but that's something SAPSC can tell you. But as long as it is within state purchasing guidelines, you can have at it. So, but the notes that I took just now, and then we share, so ECS at 779, your contract at 731, decorations at 0, dining ware at 0, food at 800.
That looks like my math too. Okay. Is that all good?
Yep.
Any other? So the finance board.
We have 4 on this one on here.
Yeah, and we have here.
Okay, great.
Okay, perfect. So looking at the amount, I think it's again 2,300 2310. That's the total amount that we're working with, and y'all have the breakdown. We can show you the breakdown as well when we send you the email. I'll be sending an email probably in the next 24 hours with everything we have discussed, but that's the amount and that's a breakdown that we're all agreeing on. Cool. Okay. On that note, are there any motions on the board?
I move chapter to get a vote.
Objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we've entered a period of voting for. But yeah, okay, so we've entered a period of voting. So for people online, say yes or I in the chat if you would like to approve MSA's request for their main event for $2,310. Nay if you don't think who should fund it. In-person people, raise your hand. If you think we should fund it. Perfect, that's 6 of us. Okay, thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations and good luck with the event. Yeah.
I just wanted to take a second to thank everybody for really working with us. It's been a really hard and rough time for us as an org and for everybody in it. And I can say on behalf of the org that we're really gonna appreciate you guys letting this event continue on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And your mom will walk you out and she probably said the exact same thing I did. No, I'm just.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, welcome to finance board. What else is left in? You see still more stuff.
Okay, next. We kind of, I think maybe it's here.
I'm here.
Who's that?
Maybe from Vita.
Oh, Arvina.
Vita. Wait, is it Vita or Vita?
Vida.
Vida.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Like vitamin.
Okay, so I'm gonna call for legislation, but if you wanna like real quick, just like reintroduce yourself and just like a little bit about it, and then we can have our conversations from there.
Okay, I'm Nivi. I'm the president of VITA this year. So our organization provides free tax services to people from the surrounding Baltimore community, and we rely on UMBC volunteers. So I was here a couple of weeks ago and requesting funding for some of the supplies that we use. And so I was told that I couldn't request funds for some of those supplies because while they would be used by the volunteers, they would be for the purpose of helping community members who aren't part of UMBC, which doesn't really follow the guidelines. And so I wanted to follow up and ask if it was possible to get funding for PPE for our volunteers. It'd be used just for our volunteers and it wouldn't be for any of our clients.
Okay, thank you. We will address that in a second, but are there any motions on the board?
Sorry.
Oh, no, just anyone.
I moved to a discussion. I second.
Perfect. Any objections? Previously, no objections. We've had a period of discussion for 5 minutes. I think we're doing that again after the last one.
Let's try to go back.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah. So I'm screen sharing the email, that, Niggy sent me. She also just kind of like talked about it a little bit, but, the summary is that she would just like to request the money that was originally requested just for PPE. So based on that, are there any ideas, thoughts? PP. Oh my god.
What is that?
Personal protective equipment. Sorry.
Oh, I'll go with that.
Okay, so one thing that I will bring up is technically that is not what they requested originally. And technically that was not included in the request, but that is just my thought.
So I just want to mention that was part of our request because when I asked for the initial funds, that was considered as a part of like the overall supplies that we would need.
Oh, okay, perfect. Let me just check that real quick, but yeah.
That's something they can appeal, or that's something.
There's no appeals process.
If there was, that'd be so.
Something along the lines of when you submit something, you want to use the money out.
Oh, yes, so there is a reallocation process. Thank you. Someone has read the budgetary statute. So there is, I'm very impressed. So there is a reallocation process that is available to student orgs, like, so say MSA, they have their money allocated to them, and then they said, actually, we want to reallocate that money that we got for our contract to food. So there's a form they can fill out, and it goes to the chair and their liaison. If both the chair and the liaison sign off on it, then it's good to go. If there is a yes, no, right, one of them says yes and one of them says no, it comes to the board to vote on. If both of them say no, it's no. Does that make sense? Yes, thank you for naming that. That's the only what it did.
It's in the thing.
Yes, it is in the request. What's the request number again? 590.
Where is it?
It's like on the outside. It's not on that dog. But when you go to when you go to supply, where you get data for random materials. Wait. I accepted it.
The dust cloud can hold it.
I'll go all the way down to rental. Where's the rental?
Wait,
Control F rental.
Yeah.
Here?
Go a little bit more. Go a little bit more. Yeah. Supply for second part. Wait. He just passed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. Supply. Did you see it? Wait.
Candace?
Yes. So, what are we talking this? Is there anything that says it in?
That's my only thing. This is the closest you get to like the word mosque.
It probably didn't specify, but they wrote the amount of money that they need to supply.
Oh.
Mhm.
Nobody wearing masks, sanitize with blue check client. I mean, that's up to your discretion. How you want to manage that?
I'm sorry. I wasn't here for the beginning when the news stopped, but did you specify how much the that's?
No, that's a question.
So I don't think it's clarified in the application, but I have like another document in like our organization's Google Drive where we have like sort of like a fake shopping cart, Amazon shopping cart of the PPE requirement that or materials that we would need, and it totals to about $90.
Could you send that over to me real quick? Just
Yeah, give me just a second.
no problem. Oh wait, this is a hot. I'm done. Well, still it's cool. Okay. So I guess straw poll time, guys. Do we think that even though it's not explicitly stated, we could still fund supplies, aka masks, for $90? So yes, it's like raise your hand. Online people, like yes. If not,
Yes. Yeah. We didn't move, did we? We don't.
no, it's just a whole straw poll.
Yeah.
Okay. Here it goes, majority. I'm gonna, they can still submit a reallocation form. That's more if like, for example, like if MSA comes back to us and says they actually want like the $1,000 that they're using for food to go towards decorations, then they can submit that request saying that, they want to move the money in the line item of food to decorations. Does that make sense? And if the form, if they fill out the form and we send it, that it gets sent to me as well as their liaison, and then we just have to sign off on it. But that's just like the process that exists. But it's not very, it doesn't really apply to this.
Yeah, it doesn't happen here.
Wait, I'm sorry, Candace or Shruti? I'm sorry, not to interrupt. Can I speak? Oh, okay, so if it wasn't specifically stated in the application, they could not like submit a reallocation form. Like it has to be stated in the like in the budget or the application. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand.
Right, so this is where like kind of gray area kind of comes in, only because the money was asked for supplies. Even though
Right.
the supplies weren't like explicitly stated,
Mhm.
it's like, if we were like asked for like rental, that's probably something that would not make sense to consider, but from my understanding, Candace can correct me if I'm wrong, but because it's as supplies, that is something that we could consider.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so considering that all of us, or most of us, said okay to the PPE stuff. So maybe when you say PPE, is it the first three items?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, yeah. So that's what they're asking for, and if we have all decided generally that we're okay with funding these, then the total would be, the total would be what, 55? $88.84. Any thoughts on that amount, slash, this request, anything? Anything from Adam, Kira, or Amina? I said she's okay with it. Here, if she's also okay with it. Any thoughts from you guys? If not, are there any motions on the floor?
I'm gonna move to enter into pre-vote.
Any objections? Here, seeing no objections, the three period of voting, what is it? Eight. What is the number?
88,
The total amount?
88, 84 for supplies.
Yeah.
What's the application number?
591.
591. This is a semester.
Semester.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect, okay, online people, same thing, if you think it should be funded for this little amount, say aye in the chat, if you're not, say, people here, raise your hand if you think it should be fully funded, if not, don't, raise your hand. Yeah, it's all of us. Perfect. Yay, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for coming. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Be quiet.
Okay. Now here's- Okay, moving on to our last item on our agenda.
Yes.
Hi, you can join the meeting.
Joshua.
I was like, who are you? I'm just excited people in the middle of the meeting. Yeah.
But that's the last piece of SBPR legislation.
Now I'm expecting this meeting to take an hour.
What? No, I knew
You said 6:50.
spicy. I knew it was gonna be spicy.
I know that's like, okay, whatever.
I'm glad I thought that.
I called Josh, I am. Okay. So we took a look at, or Ron helped you guys take a look at this last week.
Welcome.
I was incapacitated, but, yeah, so you guys, were able to make comments on this until Thursday, and it was reviewed, but, I believe Joshua is joining the meeting for clarification, thanks if there's anything that we need. But, are there any motions on the floor to move into discussion?
I moved to end.
I'm afraid it's my degree. That's why I second. Perfect. Any objections? Here is the objection, mentioned a period of discussion. Any thoughts, y'all? This could also, Josh, if you want to be organized, again, I need this time. We probably want this, so. Anyone? Oh, there, sorry.
I feel like the concerns that I have about it would be quick, but I mean, it seems pretty steady. Oh yeah, I don't see an issue there. But could be true, but yeah,
Could you speak up just a little bit?
yeah. I was gonna say that the concern that I have about it was like included. Maybe it means more, but I mean, I would say that's what we have.
I don't know if y'all were able to fully hear this, but, no, you're fine. He just said that, like, he has no concerns, and the concerns he had last week were included, so now he is dandy. Okay, Devin?
This is a question. So this document is gonna be like a set in stone document or it can be amended?
My understanding, Joshua, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is an amendment to the strategic plan, which is only for this year. The hope is that future administrations will continue the work of DE&I through their own diversity, equity, and inclusion plans and documents, but this document is an amendment to the strategic. Correct, Joshua?
Yeah, that's perfectly correct. Yeah, so this is just going to be an addendum. So it's going to be almost like an attached document to the strategic plan. And the strategic plan, as you all know, is only for this school year. And so the expectation and the hope would be that next year, the next administration will also want to create the framework. Even though it isn't codified in our bylaws that each administration has to create a strategic plan or a framework like it is with the strategic plan, we hope that this is something that will carry over.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If there are no more thoughts, I would encourage y'all to move into a period of respecting voting, sorry.
And move to enter period.
Second.
Objections? You're gonna see no objections, you're not doing a period of voting. So I could read this, but I'm pretty sure we've read it. Yeah. For online people, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh. For online people, say aye in the chat if you want to approve it as it stands, nay if not, for in-person people, just raise your hand for yes, don't raise your hand for no. There's all 7 of us. Yay, we did it.
We didn't adjourn yet.
Why are we adjourning?
No, I'm just clapping for the legislation.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Incredible work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ever done it.
Hey,
How was the document?
Hazel.
It is a
Congratulations.
All right, thanks, y'all. I'm going back to rehearsal now. Bye.
Okay. It'll be signed eventually. Yay, we did it. We made it through our agenda. Are there any motions to move into period announcements?
And move to enter period.
and
Okay, what was it? Okay, next week, y'all, or sorry. Next week, we're gonna have a virtual meeting because like no one wants to be here on a Tuesday night, especially on like the last day of the week technically, so we're just gonna have our meeting online. We're probably gonna have quite a few applications honestly, so that's my guess. Yeah, so it's gonna be a bit of a meeting, but we're gonna have it online. So again, everyone be present, participate. Please participate, it'll be really boring. And yeah. Anything else for anyone? No.
A second.
Objections? No objections. I recognize that Fiona, Mon, Yvonne, Amani, Devin, me, Amina, Aya, and Akira are all present, as well as our exhibition member. Perfect.
Are we going past the down?
Give me a second. I'm gonna stop recording it. Why